There are so many food recalls right now that you may not even be able to go shopping. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Oh, my goodness. Astonishing. I'm going to tell you all about it. Chicken, avocados, beef. Oh, my goodness. Pretty soon, I don't know. It's out of control. Hope you had a wonderful weekend and you didn't eat chicken, beef, or avocados. All those would be found in a taco, right?
Yeah.
A chicken, beef, avocado taco.
Or a burrito.
Or
Tomorrow's Taco Tuesday, as everybody posts on Facebook, so.
I'll alert the media. We are the media. What are you talking about? Oh, my goodness.
I have a question that came over the internet this weekend about margarine and butter and cooking oil.
All right. We'll get to it. What do they want to know?
What's the best thing to cook with?
Good sense.
Yeah. well, I guess what the healthiest thing is to cook with.
Okay. Well, I'll answer that right now. Whether it's margarine, butter, or oil, those inherently they have fats. One is, you got saturated, polyunsaturated products. That's not the issue. That is an issue, but the issue that even is bigger than that is the cooking of these products at high temperatures. Whether it's butter, whether it's margarine, or whether it's cooking oil. When you heat that stuff up, that's when you get into trouble. That's the problem. A lot of people like to use coconut oil because it seems to have a higher heat point, whatever that technical term is. So that really is the issue. Margarine has its issues, butter has its issues, oils have each one of those is an issue. I opt for the either monounsaturated, or the polyunsaturated product to cook with. We've had guests come on the show, and they talk about, what about this oil? What about olive oil? What about that? This and that. And the one guest, I remember he was talking about it's not the cooking, it's not the oil, it's the cooking of the oil. Udo Erasmus was Udo. Udo's Choice from Flora.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I don't cook the oil. I'll put my olive oil on the food, but I won't cook it. So what do you cook with? I'll give you the answer. Vegetable broth. Organic vegetable broth. And people say, oh, that doesn't work. I thought the same thing. It does work. And at Whole Foods, I go to Whole Foods, and I use their house brand, organic, low-sodium vegetable broth. And I saute with that. And it works, man. You add your spices. You don't need the oil. So that's my answer. Now, if there's a different question in there, too. The question is, which is better, butter, margarine? Butter or margarine? I would probably eat the butter.
Okay.
But I don't eat either that much. But once in a while, I drift. Hope you had a wonderful weekend wherever and whatever you were doing. Beautiful weather here in Florida, at least in the Tampa Bay area. It was pretty good, no?
Yes.
Not bad. And spring is in the air. We are in spring. My daughter she got infected with the flu virus. And I want to tell you, nothing I could do because she lives in Chicago. She said, Dad, it is devastating. She's a virologist, so she knows how these viruses work. And somebody at work was infected, came to work, and she got it. She said she hasn't been that sick in years. So it's still out there, man. Be careful. Keep your hands away from your face. Try to, you go home from work, if somebody's sick at work, take those clothes off. Do not put them on the bed. Do not hang them up. Put them in the laundry and wash them. So I can report to you now, according to the CDC, that the percent of adults 20 years of age and over who are overweight and obese is now at almost 72%. I can stop saying 68. 71.6% for 2015, 2016. This is, what did I say? I've been saying, I said, there'll come a day I'm going to, God, I hope I'm here. I hope I don't have to report it, but there's going to come a day when it's going to be 75, close to 80%. The forecasting models have it by 2050 at 80%. Many forecasting models. I don't know about many. Some forecasting models. It's out of control. And we're paying a price. And I still wait. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for somebody to call the fire department. The building is burning. Fire is getting bigger. And I'm just saying, keep doing what I got to do. I'll put the spotlight on it. There are 3 major recalls of food. I'm going to report on those. And there's other things trending. There was a couple, gave birth to a baby boy. And so they brought him home. And so they decided they were going to circumcise him. Yeah, well, he died. What gets in, you need adults to supervise the adults. What were they thinking to do that? My goodness. Maybe you have a story or two or whatever's on your mind. I love it when you call. Please call.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK. Dr. Garko's personal email is drgarko@letstalknutrition.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Let's Talk Nutrition. We have over 1,100 videos up there, 61,000 views. Go to our Facebook page at Let's Talk Nutrition and Instagram at Let's Talk Nutrition.
Avocados recalled in 6 states over listeria. California grown avocados. I like avocados. They're loaded with fat. Sold in bulk in retail stores in 6 states by the Henry Avocado Corporation. Oh, Henry. Are being recalled to this contamination. They said potential with bacterium Listeria monocytogenes. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Quote, this is from California Packing Facility, the company's statement. Henry Avocado is issuing this voluntary recall out of an abundance of caution due to positive test results on environmental samples taken during a routine government inspection at its California packing facility, close quote. The recalled products included California-grown conventional and organic, no less, avocados. Just because it's organic doesn't mean that the bacteria walk away. No, stop that. Then there's chicken, and then there's beef. We're not done. So you're not going to be able to make tacos or burritos now.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen up.
only thing they didn't recall this weekend were the tomatoes. Then you really couldn't make. Then you couldn't make burritos and tacos. Let's see, they've recalled the avocado. Avocados on a recall, chicken and beef. Now I'm waiting for the tomatoes and then onions. You're done. Stay home. Welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. Tyson, has recalled its frozen chicken strips. Contain metal, perhaps. Metal in there. 69,000 pounds. By the way, just as not a sidebar, but an important point to make here about the listeria, potential listeria contamination of the avocados. Listeria is a lethal bacterium. Women who are pregnant, elderly, and people with compromised immune systems are at special risk. You do not want to mess around with listeria. I'm just telling you. Listeriosis is not mysteriosis. Listeriosis, you will have fever, muscle aches, headache, stiff neck. You'll be confused, and you'll be awfully sick. You'll lose your balance. Those are some of the signs and symptoms. Sometimes a patient will experience diarrhea or gastrointestinal systems as well. And then you can even go into convulsions. Now, it's treatable with antibiotics. So I report on these things. It's a serious matter. Food poison, it can be deadly. Back to Tyson. So we got the avocados in issue. Now we have chicken strips, 69,000 pounds worth. Tyson fully cooked buffalo-style chicken strips, chicken breast strip fritters with rib meat and buffalo-style sauce. That's a product, brother. Tyson fully cooked buffalo-style chicken strips, chicken breast strip fritters with rib meat and buffalo-style sauce. Okay. I'll pass. And then we have contaminated ground beef. 400 people have been sickened, and the CDC warns that the meat could still be in your freezer. There's an outbreak of salmonella. I report on this so often, I feel like they're pets. Salmonella infections that led to the recall of more than 5, are you ready? Are you ready? 5 million pounds. 5 million pounds. That has to, the warehouse for, how much is that? I mean, I'm trying to visualize what does 5 million pounds look like. More than 100 stores and chain retailer establishments nationwide sold the beef. This was back in December. And so the CDC is still concerned because people may still have the meat in the freezer. It was manufactured by JBS Tolleson. I reported on this. Incorporated of Tolleson, Arizona. It's sold at Kroger's, Laura's Lean, and JBS Generic. Those are the brands. Consumers checking their frozen beef should look for the establishment number EST 267 within the USDA mark of inspection. The CDC is concerned. Do not eat, serve, or sell it. The outbreak began in October 2017. Listen to what I'm saying. This started back in 2019. And JBS Tolleson recalled more than 6 million pounds of raw beef products then. The recall expanded in early December when the company recalled another 5.1 million pounds. This is a lengthy outbreak for sure. You can't make this up. So avocados, and you got the chicken, and now you have the ground beef. like I said, all I'm waiting for is the tomatoes, and then you can't make burritos and tacos, which may not be a bad thing. I don't know. I don't know how to tell you this story. It's not being reported. My daughter, as I said, has been very sick, so she went to CVS to get some products to try and moderate some of the symptoms. I have to be delicate in how I report this. She sent me a text from CVS. She took a photograph in CVS on the shelves. And what did she was shock-faced, she said. She's going along, and all of a sudden she comes to a section where there are adult toys. I won't even go into what they were. I don't want to violate anybody's sensibilities. What are they doing, man? They had an adult toy section.
And it wasn't blocked off from the pictures.
No. I'm pretty liberal, but I don't know. I mean, is that where you sell those things? Is that?
I don't know. I have kids.
It's a pharmacy.
Yeah.
It's not an adult toy store. And then they had other items there, condoms, and it was a whole section. I mean, I have the photo. It's on my phone. My daughter, she texted me. She talked to me. She said, I still can't believe it. I don't know what the world is upside down. Honestly. Shake my head. What did they What are they doing at CVS? What are they doing? Huh? I don't get it. I don't know. Is that I guess it's appropriate. I don't know. What do I know? Connect, please.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. Don't forget, you can go to our Facebook page at Let's Talk Nutrition and send us a message live here on our Facebook.
I came in studio this morning and I told Gary in graphic terms what my daughter saw and took photographs of and sent them to me at CVS, and he looked at me and he thought he must, and I said, "You don't believe it?" I gave him my phone and he went, "Oh my God, OMG," shock face. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
He even shocked you.
yeah. I mean, I have my kids and I take them to stores and stuff like that. And we walk around, and I just don't think that would be something I would enjoy them seeing.
I'm not a prude. But, oh well. Peter Navarro is my guest today, and Peter's with Ancient Nutrition. And I tell you that they are a sponsor of the show, and in all the spirit of transparency. Peter was on before, a couple months ago, and he's back. So we'll see where he's been, what he's been up to, and what's going on at Ancient Nutrition. Peter, welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing amazing. How about yourself?
That's good, Peter. That's a good answer. I'm doing amazing. It's either amazing, awesome. What are some of those other terms? That's good, man. That's a nice answer. You're out there in the field interacting with retailers and the consumers, aren't you?
That is correct.
Yeah. In the stores, it's truly astonishing when people come into these health stores with various health issues, and they can be pretty self-disclosive, can't they?
They definitely can. Having been in the former retail side as well, I can say that people definitely open up. And I believe it's a good thing, though. It helps you get to know people and really see where they're coming from.
You know why? And what I have found, I think that sometimes they are more self-disclosive and authentic in the retail, in the health store than they are with their doctor. That is strange to me. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's my observation.
Based on what I've been told from customers at the time, I do agree with you. They say that they can't always be 100% open. They can't always be open about what they're taking, what they're trying, what route they're trying to go through, just because some of their doctors are just closed-minded or don't have the knowledge and don't want to look into it. So it's a little disheartening.
It's so strange. I have been, I'll walk into a health store, and sometimes as I even have them on now, I have my ID tags. In order to get into this building, you have to have ID and, keys and whatnot, electronic keys. So I end up wearing these things around my neck, and I walk in, I forget I got them on, and then people see, "Oh, you're Dr. Carter." And then they start, and I get the questions. And I say, "Have you talked to your doctor about this?" "No." "Have you been to your doctor recently?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell your doctor?" And sometimes I don't even get an answer. They just look at me. There's something about work in health stores. You worked in health stores, and people are just, self-disclosive. They're looking for help. They're looking for something to help them, and I just find that intriguing to me how that works out. So, how have you been? You doing good? You doing well?
I'm doing well, yes.
Yeah.
Very excited and eager for the day.
Yeah. Any breaking news from Ancient Nutrition? Any new products that were opened up at Expo West or anything?
So at Expo West, which was awesome, if you weren't there, I apologize. The booth was popping. We were sampling out.
I walked by several times, Pete. I walked by several times. it was so jammed up. There's no way I was going to get an audience with anybody.
So we released our new organic fermented CBD line. That was what we were showcasing at Expo, and it took off very well. People were very excited, and people really loved the concept. I love the concept. Jordan loves the concept. So does Josh. So it's something that we are all definitely excited to be coming out with. It's definitely the time. I'd say that we picked a perfect time to come out with these products. So I'm excited, and I just can't wait for people to get their hands on them when they're available and try them out and just experience all these wonderful benefits.
Was Dr. Axe or Jordan there?
So they were there both of the main days. So Josh Axe was there, and he was taking pictures with people that were coming in. He was doing a book signing. He was doing a mocktail event on Friday. Jordan was there mingling, talking to people. Everybody was so excited to see them, especially Josh. People were just going crazy, and it was just a lot of fun, and it was really amazing to see how everybody was taking to them.
The audience on Let's Talk Nutrition is always growing, and we're grateful. So, since you've been on last, it's always, there's change. Keeps growing. So they may not be familiar with ancient nutrition. Could you please describe and explain in some summarized way the mission of ancient nutrition, its point of view, and so on?
Of course, I'd be glad to. So ancient nutrition is basically that, ancient nutrition for a modern world. So our founders, Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin, were studying, and they're definitely big fans of ancient Ayurveda, ancient Chinese medicine, a lot of foods and a lot of supplements and a lot of ways of life that we used to embody once upon a time, but somewhere along the way we lost our ways. And they believe that that's where a lot of our ailments started to arise from. People started to shy away from things like fermented foods, things like bone broth, things like mushrooms. We don't take as many herbs, and even then we don't do the fermentation process with them as well. There's things like trikatu, for example, in ancient Ayurveda, which blends the spices to help with the absorption of herbs. So it's basically ancient principles for a modern world, making sure that we are following all of those practices to get the most out of our lives.
It's funny you alluded to mushrooms. There's a story trending about a study trending this morning. Eating mushrooms can cut cognitive decline. It was published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease this month, and eating mushrooms could reduce the risk of developing mild cognitive impairment, MCI. This new study reveals researchers at the Department of Psychological Medicine and Department of Biochemistry in China, one of the schools, I can't even pronounce it, did the study. I'll come back, I'll tell you more. Peter Navarro, educator for Ancient Nutrition, is the guest today. I asked him to sort of sketch the mission and point of view of Ancient Nutrition, and he mentioned that they're trying to reintroduce some of these principles, ancient principles, relative to nutrition and relative to health generally, from Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, or the paradigms. And they are ancient for sure. Ayurvedic medicine goes back, and so does Chinese medicine, at least 5,000 years. And Ayurvedic emerged during the Vedic period in ancient India. It's amazing how, think about that, 5,000 years these paradigms have, existed. And what has happened in modern times, we've drifted away from certain principles of living, certain principles relative to food and diet, and now we find ourselves in a real mess with food. Our relationship with food has become so pathogenic. We are now at 72% of the population being overweight or obese. That's not a genetically driven epidemic. That's a diet and lifestyle driven epidemic. And so the Ancient Nutrition is trying to get back to some principles and some foods, and then they put those into supplements that can help maybe at least moderate this drift into oblivion. Peter, welcome back. Pardon me, hold on. I went to your website, and I was looking, get my hands on it. I was looking at your About Us link at Ancient Nutrition. Go to ancientnutrition.com, and I saw your mission that, this business is personal. They said our mission is personal. And I know Jordan very well. I don't know Dr. Axe. I never met Dr. Axe. I'd like to have him on the show. And I know that it is personal for Jordan. It always has been. And to your point, you said on your website, it says, we create products by leveraging the wisdom and principles from Ayurveda and traditional Chinese herbalism that have survived generations, and marry them with current research to provide supplements that are rooted in tradition and supported by science, close quote. That's a pretty cogent statement. So how is that reflected in the products generally, that statement? How do we see that emerge in the products?
So, for example, with the ancient Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine, it'll be most apparent in our herbal blends and our mushroom blends, along with our keto products. So the main premise behind it would be Trikatu in terms of the ancient Chinese medicine, or ancient Ayurveda, I apologize. So we are basically taking long pepper, black pepper, and essential oils, and we are basically recreating the warming and bitter blends along with the fat-soluble nutrients to help with the uptake of nutrients. So basically we're taking these herbs and we are making them more bioavailable to the body, just because we understand, especially Jordan of all people understands how compromised the digestive system can be, how drastic people's digestive systems can be changing constantly. So making sure that they are bioavailable so that they are absorbing the most that they can in these nutrients is critical. It's also why he chose to ferment them as well, not just to make them, more powerful and nutrient dense, but also, again, to make them more bioavailable, to enhance those probiotics, to enhance those naturally occurring enzymes. He just, as you know, because you know him, he's very big on digestive health and diet and overall taking care of your body. So he's just trying to make sure that people are having the best assimilated nutrients that are on the market.
877-897-8255 will put you in touch with Peter Navarro from Ancient Nutrition. Into fermentation, that is what our ancient ancestors used to preserve food, fermenting food. And we have, in some countries, even today in modern life, food fermented food is still provided. And when I was growing up as a kid, my dad, encouraged my mom to have fermented foods in the house. Of course, he was an immigrant, European immigrant, and so was my mom. And so, this notion of fermented foods was introduced to me decades and decades ago, long before you were even born, I suppose. You sound pretty young. Of course, everybody's younger than I am, but that's okay. So I'm a big fan. I wonder, how does the fermentation work its way into the products? I know that's a little technical maybe, but could you share that a bit?
So they actually ferment it with acetic acid or the mother, basically, think apple cider vinegar, kombucha type deal. So basically, they put it in a fermentation process. I'm going to be honest, I don't know exactly how they do the actual process itself.
That's okay.
I've never fermented anything or been to the farm to be able to speak personally, but I do know that they ferment it with acetic acid.
Okay. All right. And the fermentation, in theory, is to, I guess, make the food, more, to potentiate the food, to make it more bioavailable to the body? Is that ultimately what we're trying to do here?
So that and being nutrient dense. I mean, in terms of talking about food, of course, it'd be for the preservation, but in terms of the supplements, yes, it's basically intended to really draw out those nutrients that maybe we won't be getting if we were just consuming it in its raw form. Same thing with like sauerkraut, for example. We take the cabbage and we put the brine, and we end up getting all these other amazing nutrients that we didn't even know that were possible.
Yeah, I know. It turns out that process of fermentation that use microorganisms, bacteria, yeast, or fungi, they'll convert these organic compounds like starches and sugars, these carbohydrate, into alcohol or acids. For example, starches and sugars in the vegetables and fruits are converted into lactic acid, and then the lactic acid acts as a natural preservative. People figured this out all over the world, independent of one another. It's amazing to me. But we can now apply it to our modern life and in the making of dietary supplements, and you end up with these whole food-based kinds of supplements. Ancient Nutrition has a product, a bone broth product. That's an ancient principle as well. We'll get into that and much more. AncientNutrition.com, and we'll get Peter to share with you some of the specific products and why he's a fan and what they're intended to do. You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition. We're coast to coast and we're global. And this is where your health is your wealth. And welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Thanks for starting off the week with us. We appreciate it very much. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, wherever and however you were, whatever you were doing is what I want to say. And whatever and however you may be watching or listening to this show today, we're grateful. We're coast to coast and we're global. Of course, we're global. We get global because we stream the show, and we made our way onto every continent so far, although it was just one person in Antarctica. It was somebody we knew, to be totally transparent. But we can say we've appeared on all 7 continents. That's pretty cool. And we like that idea because we're trying to connect and make contact with as many people as possible. Who knows? We don't have all the answers. I have a lot of questions, and we try to provide some answers. We have guests on here from literally all over the planet. That's true. And by the way, we not only do we stream out, but we can stream anybody into the show. Like, for example, today our guest, Peter Navarro, we could stream him in. We could have him up on the screen, and then what's that number that view us every day?
Around about 17,000 an hour, so about 30,000 a day.
Okay. That will watch this show. We have a company that uploads the show onto 4 different platforms, so they keep track of that for us, and that's amazing. So, we have guests. We can, wherever they are on the planet, we can stream them, and it just takes 2 minutes.
Oh, we have over 62,000 views on our YouTube channel. So
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm digging that. I like that.
And that, what you were asking about, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. I wanted to give you a heads up. I talked about it last week, and the context in which I made it known that Dr. Sanjay Gupta from CNN, the chief medical advisor, correspondent, whatever, for CNN, is going to be on HBO tonight at 9 o'clock. One Nation Under Stress. I have a lot of respect for Dr. Gupta. I find him to be very thorough. I find him to be accurate, thorough, credible. He's a brain surgeon, by the way. So, he's a science-based physician. The documentary opens up in a town in the Pittsburgh area called Greensburg. I had relatives that probably still do live in Greensburg. I grew up in Pittsburgh. Greensburg's not too far. Not far at all. It's a small town. And Dr. Gupta is talking with a forensic pathologist. In the beginning of the documentary, the name of the pathologist is Dr. Cyril Wecht. I happen to know Dr. Wecht. He's a colleague. I worked with Dr. Wecht on some cases, and he's a forensic pathologist. And Dr. Wecht noted that in this documentary, he comments apparently that more than half the bodies he's looking at, he comments, have suffered from drug-related deaths. And he said, quote, he says in the documentary, it's a significant epidemic of monstrous proportions. Can't see, Gary.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's all right.
He's got it in here. It's so dark. I think I'm in a confessional booth with a priest. It's dark in here, man. I'm half blind, brother. Help me
the
out.
good half that's blind or the bad?
You got to help me out, man. Dr. Gupta points out that the economic decline of the Rust Belt, where much of the health has declined, it's not an accident. In this documentary, he visits Pennsylvania factory workers who lost their jobs after the plants closed. I went through that when I lived in Pitt, when it was towns were turned into ghost towns when the steel mills went away. I grew up at a time when the steel mills were all over the place. You could drive up and down that Monongahela or Allegheny rivers. They meet at the Point in downtown Pittsburgh to form the Ohio. It's called the Point. Gary can show you a picture of that behind me. And there were steel mills all up and down. Jones and Laughlin, United States Steel, all over it was amazing. To say it was stressful is an understatement. That's the point that Dr. Gupta makes in this documentary. And and speaking of ancient nutrition, our ancient ancestors, if anybody thinks for 1 second that we are under more stress than they were, you probably want to rethink that a little bit. I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be an ancient ancestor, ancient. To get up every day, and you had to be on the move. It was either move or get eaten, or die if you didn't move. They had to hunt, they had to gather. It wasn't easy. There was no convenience. There was lots of stress, lots of scarcity, right? And no abundance of food. You talk about stressful. Now we live in a time, ironically, there's lots of stress, there's lots of abundance, and we in some ways may be worse, relatively speaking, off than they were. And they had it harder. Now we live longer, and that leads me to my next point. But where life expectancy is on a decline. And Dr. Gupta talks about that. And he attributes a lot of it, to stress. That this decline in life expectancy is, a large measure of it in his mind is attributable to stress. Overall, Americans could expect to live 78.6 years at birth in 2017, down a tenth of a year from 2016, according to the CDC. You say, well, that's no big deal. Oh, yes, it is. Life expectancy for women in 27 was 81.1 years, unchanged from the previous year. They always live longer than we do. There's reasons for that. Drug overdoses. The opioid epidemic is one factor. Another factor that's involved here. Since 1999, the number of drug overdoses has more than, are you ready? Quadrupled. Deaths attributed to opioids were nearly 6 times greater in 2017 than they were in 1999. Cirrhosis of the liver caused by alcohol consumption, abuse, is off the chain. What am I getting at? People are trying to find ways to cope with stress. Alcohol, drugs, whatever, to blunt the effects of stress. The stress response saved our lives. It's now taking lives. Our ancient ancestors had the stress response, the fight or flight response. It played a big role in us evolving as a species and making it to this point. But modern life, in this most ironic way, is creating an environment where it's obesogenic, it's pathogenic, it's psychogenic. I mean, we're a mess. Now, amidst all of that, there are good things too. Medical science, achievement, people, more ideas, more knowledge, more information, more know-how. So we can do it. So there's all that good news floating around in the ether as well. So it's an interesting mix. So it's kind of appropriate that Ancient Nutrition is on today. Set that up for Peter. Did that just for you, Peter. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. The aforementioned Peter Navarro. Peter, welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. Again, thanks for stopping by today. You heard my setup. You have any response?
I most definitely do. I was glad you asked. So, in terms of the bombardance of stress, I definitely agree, and Jordan definitely agrees, and he definitely notices, which is why he's a fan of ashwagandha. That's one of his biggest ingredients that he just is in love with. Jordan constantly tells us on our calls, at our meetings, at our events that we see him at, that we are all constantly bombarded with stress, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. And he always tells us that not only us, but our consumers as well, just we need ashwagandha. We need herbs that are going to help us de-stress in our everyday lives. And so because of that, we also feature it in the majority of our products. Like all of our mushrooms and herbs are going to be supplemented with ashwagandha. The majority of our keto line and 2 of our multi-collagen products will actually have ashwagandha added to it, as well as other goodies. But he's always a big proprietor on making sure that we are distressing as a society, making sure that we are taking care of ourselves in terms of the stress levels, making sure we're keeping cortisol under control, just because it's such a necessity to help our everyday lives and to help our, and longevity and our enjoyment of life, our overall well-being.
Yeah, I know Jordan's dialed into things. So ashwagandha then becomes one of the principal ingredients in your products, huh?
And in a lot of them, yes, most definitely.
Good. 877-897-8255, 877-897-TALK. I alluded to bone broth in the first hour today. Why did you all go down that road and invest such a significant amount of time, money, effort, marketing, and so on into this idea of bone broth?
It's actually a pretty interesting story. I will touch upon it. So Jordan, as we all know, is a big proprietor of food and healing the body with nutrition. And during his travels, he was having knee issues, and so he was trying to find readily available sources of bone broth. Especially with his schedule, always traveling, always on the road, he didn't have an available source ready to consume. There was a couple of frozen brands that he was dabbling with at the time, and he was just trying to get a source that he could use to heal himself while on the road. So he decided that he ended up linking up with Josh Axe, and they ended up going over the collagen, the bone broth protein. So it was actually intended to be made for Jordan to help heal himself. It was never actually intended originally to be public. So once he started dabbling with it, started producing it, he ended up using it to heal himself, and him and Josh were like, we could use this to help other people who are dealing with a lot of other ailments, just because they started to do further research, started to see more of the digestion benefits, more of the recovery benefits, the healthy joints, healthy skin. So that's pretty much how it got started. They were basically just trying to find a source for themselves in a convenient, ready powder form, which at the time there was none. There was virtually none. I think Great Lakes was the only one at the time that was doing collagen peptides and gelatin. So once they started utilizing that and Jordan healed himself, again, he just wanted to spread the wealth and help people on their own health journeys.
So can you talk a little bit about the product, the ingredients, and so on?
Of course. So bone broth protein is going to be extremely rich in type 2 collagen. And type 2 collagen is that specific one that is going to help with the integrity of your joints, your tendons, and your digestion. So it's going to feature proline, hydroxyproline, and alanine, and glycine. So those are all going to be important and precursors to helping your body increase the healing benefits and the healing properties. So basically you're going to get type 2 collagen, the glucosamine, the chondroitin, hyaluronic acid, and naturally occurring MSM all in one product, as well as balanced electrolyte ratios of potassium and sodium.
How do you take the product? How do you prepare it to take it?
So I personally, I throw it in water. I know that there's a lot of people who like to throw it in smoothies. There's a lot of people who like to bake with it because it is non-heat sensitive. But the most famous way, whether it's collagen or bone broth, that people like to use it is by putting it in their coffee in the morning. That's probably one of the most easiest, fastest, and convenient ways that everybody can get collagen into their diet, is by putting it into your coffee, most of the time you can't even tell that it's there, especially the collagen.
So you don't make it with warm water, or it's the concept of broth here. I mean, can you do that or no?
So you can definitely do that. That's actually really common for people. A lot of people like to make hot chocolate, for example, with our chocolate bone broth. Add a couple of drops of essential oil like peppermint, cinnamon. Make a Mexican hot chocolate. Make a chocolate mint hot chocolate. So there's definitely room with the flavors to dabble with. Again, it's all going to be palate preference. I personally I use the pure. I like the traditional bone broth flavor, so I usually use that in just some cold water in the morning and at night just to kind of get things going.
877-897-8255. You may have a question or two. We'll have a caller won't do it now. We'll take Tony's call after the close of this block and move into the next one. So hang on, Tony. And what can a person expect from taking the bone broth? I mean, what should they reasonably expect to happen for them?
So probably some of the most common things that I've heard people attest to is if you're having cracking, popping, or aching joints, that's probably one of the first things that they notice starts to lessen. I've had friends, family, and testimonials from customers that say that they constantly started using this on a regular basis, and they notice that clicking in the shoulders, the popping in the knees is starting to minimalize, and some people, they actually are non-existent. That's one of the main things. Skin, you'll also start to notice a big difference, especially with the lack of collagen that we are having in our diets in today's society. You're definitely going to be help regenerating the skin. People notice their skin looks a lot better, a lot more hydrated, a lot firmer. And digestion is the biggest thing as well. Digestion is always one that people notice almost within a week or two.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
an eighth of a slice of lemon in it.
Okay, that has
That
appeared.
lemon ain't going to hurt that, is it?
No, in fact, that has appeared in the literature. The use of green tea. It's possibly effective. They list it often as possibly effective. What comes up time and again, I can't diagnose and treat since I'm not a MD. I'm just a PhD trying to get along. But I can talk about the science and the literature and matters related to oral leukoplakia. Beta carotene comes up. Vitamin A comes up a lot in the literature about oral leukoplakia. Oral leukoplakia are these white patches or plaque. You can't rub them off, and smoking, alcohol. There are any number of lifestyle variables that contribute to it. Although you can suffer from it and not either smoke or drink. There are other. Ascorbic acid, vitamin C shows up in the literature as somehow being helpful. Vitamin E, alpha tocopherols turn out to be good in the literature. Vitamin A, as I mentioned, retinoic acid. These are some of the from a nutritional standpoint that could address it. It's tough. It's idiopathic. They're not sure. They don't know the exact cause, so it's idiopathic in nature. What have you tried and what has worked and didn't work?
Well, what I do now is I was eating all my vegetables raw. And what I do now is I boil an organic sweet potato, because that gives you more beta carotene than anything with the skin on.
Yeah.
I boil it whole.
Okay.
I also, instead of eating 7 cups of raw spinach, when I'm done like cooking a tomato sauce or something, in the last minute I'll put the spinach in just to break down the cell wall, so I get another 13,000 milligrams of beta carotene.
I see.
And that's what I've done there. And B12 is another big
yes, vitamin B12 comes up.
And what I do there is I take 1 cherry stone main clam a day. That gives you all the B12 you need.
So, you might want to consider supplementation as well with good quality products, supplement products from the companies that I have on the show. You know who they are, I'm sure. Vitamin A. I would consider vitamin D as an option. I would look at certainly vitamin C, a good one, in a supplement form. Zinc comes up in the literature for any zinc and vitamin A. Usually are deficiency in diseases of the mouth mucosa. That happens. Zinc and vitamin A. That comes up in the literature a lot. In fact, I found an ancient article from 1998, zinc and vitamin A deficiency in diseases of the mouth. And you might want to consider that as well. And in keeping, your mouth as it's filled with bacteria, and I would, floss. I would make sure that I brush my teeth. I would, I would use a water pick as well, trying to keep the mouth as hygienic as possible. That is typically what's talked about in the literature. I don't know if I helped you at all.
You did.
But I may have nothing else confirmed what you're doing. Zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E. These, has been mentioned. I saw an article about lycopene being helpful. So you might want to consider
tomato sauce every day.
Okay, that's good. And when you cook the tomato sauce, that's what activates the lycopene. So I hope you found what I said useful.
I'm going to try some of that bone broth too. That vegetarian
good.
bone
From
broth.
Ancient Nutrition. Give it a try.
There's no soy in that though, is there?
No.
Okay.
They don't do soy.
No, I don't want soy.
No. All right, Anthony.
No.
Thank you, Anthony.
Hey, thank you.
My pleasure, man. Okay, Peter, we're back. There you go. He's going to try your bone broth. What's another favorite? I know they're all your favorites, but other than the bone broth, you have some protein products, yes?
We do. So we have the organic bone broth protein as well as the keto protein, and those are going to be different from the traditional bone broth, mainly because with the organic, for example, we in the manufacturing process, well, not the manufacturing process, but in the cooking process, we actually leave meat on the bone. So in the traditional non-GMO bone broth, we use a bare bone in the product just to ensure that we get higher collagen and a higher mineral content.
That's good.
So with the organics, we leave chicken meat on the bone, and that actually helps get an enriched, more BCAA branched chain amino acid, more muscle building protein. So the organic one is more for people who are working out, people who want those, muscle building nutrients, as opposed to the collagen benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Keto protein, on the other hand, is going to feature both the higher amount of collagen and branched chain amino acid muscle building protein, with addition to fat nutrients like MCT oil, chicken bone broth oil, ashwagandha. You got to fight that stress. Apple cider vinegar for digestion. So we feature a lot of other nutrients in our other protein powders as well.
Peter Navarro with Ancient Nutrition giving you the rundown. AncientNutrition.com. We come back. We'll have the LTN health question. I just had another thought about oral leukoplakia that I'll share with Tony, too, when we come back.
Want to get it?
LTN health question for the day for you. You used to hear me say a lot, overweight and obesity, 68% of the population in the United States is overweight or obese. That number has changed. Yeah. And what is it? Is it 70% or 70, round numbers, 70% or 72% now, according to the CDC? That's overweight or obese in America. Give you two choices, 70% or 72%. Here's the number to call.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
Going back to Tony called a bit ago, and he was talking about oral leukoplakia, which is problematic. It occurred to me as I was going through the literature, I came across some articles talking about turmeric that could be helpful. I would tell Tony natural factors would their product is good, and you might want to try the natural factors product of turmeric. And then also occurred to me, and I didn't see any science, no literature on it at all, oil of oregano. If Dr. Ingram were here in studio, I know he would bring that up. He would probably, talk about pathogenically, he would talk about the bacteria that are possibly responsible. It is idiopathic. They don't know the exact cause. It can be even loose dentures, cracked teeth. It can be any number of things to cause it. It's very problematic. But oil of oregano, the different products like you got to be careful with that because it does burn. But they have various oil of oregano products. Go to NorthAmericanUrbanSpice.com. What's the number now? What's the current statistic for overweight and obesity in America? 70% or 72% of the population? That knocks me out every time I think about it. Peter, welcome back. So which products do you take from Ancient Nutrition on a consistent basis?
On a consistent basis, I always take the bone broth protein, the pure. I always take our keto pH and our keto multi. And lastly, I take all of our mushrooms. I think that's probably my biggest staple that I make sure I am 100% consistent with at all times.
Is that in pill form? Is that in pill form?
They are going to be in capsule form, yes.
Mm-hmm. You're a big. Which species of mushrooms do you know?
So I personally take a lot of lion's mane, a lot of turkey tail, and a lot of chaga. Just personally, a lot of health related issues that I've battled with in the past, and those are the ones that have really helped me. You're big on literature. There's countless studies out there that show reishi is another one I like to incorporate from time to time. Allergies and just overall immune function. So I like to make sure that I'm giving my body a fighting chance every day. Mm-hmm.
Ancient mushrooms, maitake mushrooms. I mean, you get into the science and you talk. We have a number of herbalists. I've been privileged to have some very famous herbalists on this show over the years, and I've learned a lot from them. These are people that study for 20, 30 years. I mean, it's just amazing. They always talk about maitake, and all these different species of mushrooms and how it's so beneficial to your immune system. It goes on and on and on. And I know some who just herbalists take them every day, just like Peter. They wouldn't go a day without taking their mushrooms. So what's the name of the product on these mushroom products? What appears on the bottle?
So it is going to be Ancient Apothecary. So that is our brand. So Ancient Apothecary, and then they're fermented mushrooms. So we have fermented reishi, fermented chaga, fermented lion's mane, fermented turkey tail, fermented cordyceps, and a fermented multi-mushroom complex.
Wow. Lots of choices, man.
Definitely.
Did you get sick this year with cold or flu?
This year, no. Not this year, no.
You ducked it, huh?
I was lucky. I was one of the lucky ones.
Well, and I ask because you're out there, you're in contact with people all day long. I mean, my goodness, it's like walking into a contamination ward out there.
There's been a couple of close calls when I air travel. That's the only time I've ever felt a little off in the morning. I just load up on that, and then I'll have emergency wellness as well from Source Naturals. That's something I always keep on hand as well for emergencies.
You like Source Naturals, huh? You like they're a good company.
So the wellness product I've actually used since I was 14 years old. My mom used to use it when we were little, so that's one of the first supplements that was in my house.
They've been a sponsor, man. Remember, Gary?
Yes, they were.
They're coming back. They're coming back. I wanted to tell Peter. I wanted to tell Tony, who called about the oral leukoplegia question. The product from Natural Factors is TheraCuramin. TheraCuramin. TheraCumin. TheraCuramin. I'm a big fan of that product. Do you all make a curcumin product?
So we have a turmeric product. So
you do? You do have a turmeric product?
And then the turmeric flavored bone broth, which has 3 grams of turmeric per.
Then Tony should try that then. Go ahead and talk about that, please.
So basically, the turmeric capsule is going to be fermented. It's also going to be featured it's not just a CO2 extraction. We also use a hot water extraction. So we try to get all of the expressions from the
good.
earth and try to use a whole plant extract instead of just isolating certain nutrients, just to try to get it to work and as close to nature as possible.
I didn't know you had. I didn't know you had a product. I didn't know that. And you say you have it in the broth too?
Yes. So in the keto line, the organic and the original, we all have turmeric flavored bone broth, which each features 3 grams of turmeric per serving.
Excellent. So there you go, Tony, right there at Ancient Nutrition. Peter, thank you so much for being on today. You out on the road today, buddy?
I am, yeah.
Oh, you're working. You're working. I know. You're a pretty passionate guy. I know you're dedicated. You're so sincere. I appreciate that. Thank you for being on today.
I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure, man. Thank you for being on today. Please give my best to Jordan if you talk to him. I haven't met Dr. Axe, but tell him I said hey anyway. Okay?
You got it.
All right, pal. Take care of yourself. I'll look for you next time, too.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye. Your health is your wealth, and your health is the wealth of those who care about and love you. I'll see you tomorrow.